have heroin addicts in our band, and all of them are sober. Took a while. Took a while, but you know, and that's the message that we're trying to get out. Here's Keirda.
Hi.
Why did you waste 5 years of your life to do this movie?
5? We're going on 9. It'll be 9 next year when it comes out. The film's finally getting released in March of 2013. Well, I made the film for 2 reasons, really. I mean, it's been so long now since I started, so my memory kind of plays tricks on me. But really, two main reasons that I approached Bob. And one was this record that he had made with a band called The Bicycle Thief, which really was just really personal record for me. It's still one of my favorite records. It's just a very personal, beautiful record, and it talked a lot about his recovery and where his life was now. Having known the band that he was in, Thelonious Monster, years prior, I was just really moved by that record. And then when I started looking into Bob again, because it had been probably 15 years since I had heard about Thelonious Monster and knew what they were doing, there was this whole beautiful story to what he was doing with his life. And at that point, he wasn't here. At that point, I just knew about MAP, and I knew that he was a counselor and that he was doing all this really inspiring stuff. So that's really, I thought it was important to shine a light on him.
Anybody got any questions? What do you want to know? Good. Drew and Shelley are going to come and join us for clinical questions. Any kind of questions? What's the best temperature to cook a turkey? Which one? Seriously, what one?
Shelley and I just decided that Bob's ego wasn't big enough. We didn't make a movie about him. I got to tell you, for me to watch this film, every time I enjoyed so much. Really, just hats off every time. I just get moved by it. But you have no idea how bizarre it is for me to have stood. No, I have a very vivid memory of that lecture you saw there, where Bob's sitting about right here, and I'm just sort of talking as Bill Nye, the science guy. And I don't remember if this is really articulated in the film, how profound the conversation was in my head with this guy with the hat sitting here, and I'm going, God, that looks like Bob Forrest. But Bob Forrest is dead. I know he's dead. There's nobody could survive what I saw of Bob Forrest. That guy I had made everyone say goodbye to him. He was going to die. We pulled out of his life.
Banned off the K-Rock.
Couldn't come around K-Rock and come here because not just that your behavior was so bad, but it was just time to say goodbye. We gave up. And this guy, literally, it's like seeing a ghost. There's a dead person sitting here. And then we talked afterwards, and lo and behold, and I could immediately see the talent and the insight, and I knew what he'd been through, and to see this glorious recovery, I wanted to know more. And then we developed a relationship, and then you saw the rest that happened. I'm sorry about that experiences.
Well, Keirda, I want to say congratulations that this is going to be released. What a feat, right? What a feat. So congratulations on that. I'm so excited. And it's always an honor and privilege to be in somebody's life who, I met Bob in 1989, and we used drugs together. I wasn't in any of this footage because I was like several years behind them, you know, in age. So they had already kind of developed, and I was kind of, you know, just on the side. And I met Bob when he was in the beautiful mess sort of, you know, area of his life right before things went really, really down. So I met him on his like last leg of the trip, and then I got sober about a year before Bob. So I'm coming up on 17, and you're coming up on 17. So we've been sober a long time together now, and we use together. And I look at this film because I know all these people in this film as well. And so what's funny is that I can't believe how many of us are sober, like long-term sober. I mean, even Dick's, I mean, it's so crazy how many of us are clean and sober still. Clean or dead. And so,
You live to be 50.
Because I knew a lot of them too, and
we can't believe it. I mean, it's just, we got it.
But this is what recovery is. This is what it can be. This is to me, that's the message of the film. I know you like music and everything, but
No,
for me, but it's about this is the glory of recovery. It's just amazing.
And then finding, Bob and I, we knew each other, and Bob was the person that you saw, like, you cannot let him in your house unless he's going to disappear at an alarming rate. Your CDs, your stuff, I mean, it's not nailed down. If it's not nailed down, he's stealing it. It's going to bunch up. So that's what relationship we left on, and then I got sober and disappeared, and then he came along, and then we were in meetings together and all this stuff, and so he asked me the strangest thing. He said, I think I have this job for you. I was like, what job are you talking about? He's like, well, I think you'd be good at it. Why don't you come down and meet the producers? I was like, okay, producers for what? Because I'm not an actress, and I don't know anything about anything. So I go there, and it's for celebrity rehab, and they are looking for somebody to be a resident tech, and I've worked in treatment before. And so I came in there, and then I met Dr. Drew, and we started this whole process of doing 6 seasons at this, with the show and with this
But then I stole
this
your
facility.
philosophy.
And then I went to Los Angeles and worked, and that was such a great education, like Bob's education. And then I got an education. We're just handing this down and passing this down through the generations. And I still work here on the front lines, and I'm still carrying this message. And the fortunate part for me is that I get to carry this message. I get to stay sober, and I get to help other people. Sometimes I lose sight of that because I start out with every client very gung-ho, and I am ready to get, this person is going to get sober. By 30 days in, I can kind of tell whether it's working or not. You can kind of tell. And then you get a little fatigued, after a while. And, I'm sure after 20-some rehabs, people were pretty fatigued, with Bob. But I think the message is, you just never give up, and you never know. So never say die.
No, that's right.
True. Is there any questions anybody has?
I have a question, Dr. Drew, as far as when you saw Bob,
Back which time?
the
recovering Bob?
Yeah, the recovered,
The dead Bob, the ghost Bob.
Did it really happen that fast? I mean, did you not have any questions at all, knowing his past, to have him engage so quickly? Did it really happen that fast? He engaged very quickly?
I can't remember. It's hard to recreate. Within a year, I had him down in Los Angeles, but I was working with MAP a lot. And so the fact that he was in MAP, we were like engaged and talking, and he, Buddy spoke very highly of him, and so I had lots of people vouching for his recovery and the fact that he was talented, and I can't remember. I think he probably brought John in or something.
John came.
Yeah, John. He brought some people into treatment with us, and we were sort of handing them back to him afterwards. And so there was a lot of shared clinical work. I can't remember. I can't really put it all together.
Contract there for that.
Yeah, we had the Musician Assistance Program contract out in Los Angeles for a year, and we were cross-pollinated a lot, and so we had a lot of contact. I just remember, I just remember the moment I said, "Come with me," but I don't remember how we got there exactly. But it was a year or so.
Buddy Arnold, there's some greats, like Candy knows everybody that I'm talking about, Buddy Arnold and Gloria Scott, and there was these people that I came in contact with in all the treatment centers. Like Buddy Arnold was my counselor like 2 times, I think, at a place called CPC Westwood. There's people that have been around a while, you know what CPC is. And he was my counselor there, and then this woman, Gloria Scott, was my counselor at Socorro and Cry Help. And these people, were larger than life. And I remember, though I wasn't ready to really hear, to me, Buddy Arnold and Gloria Scott were like Keith Richards and Neil Young. They were just like these cool people that I'd always modeled my life after, and now I had new role models. And so that's kind of the thing I followed into being a counselor, because both of them were counselors, and I felt like, that's what I want to do. Because when you're a musician, really, your life is usually over by the time you're 30. And then what are you going to do with the rest of the 50 years you've got? And if you know stories of musicians, they don't really do all that well. And I knew that my career is over, music is over, what the hell am I going to do? And then Gloria Scott and Buddy Arnold became my role models, and they're the ones that kind of taught me a lot of things about how to run a group. I remember the first time I ran a group, Buddy co-ran it with me, and then he just let me take over. He was just the greatest mentor to learn how to enter the frame with somebody, how to be with somebody, how to form an alliance, allow somebody to attach to you. These are things I learned before I went to school. Buddy and Gloria kind of taught it to me. And it's a very important thing. I go over the curriculum now with people I'm supervising, and it gets a lot of pharmacology and a lot of that stuff. And like, no, you need to enter the frame with somebody and know that you need to convey to the addict that you know what you're doing and that you care about them, but you're not going to take any bullshit. And that was what Gloria Scott and Buddy did with me, and that's what I think you spotted. Like, I knew that attachment.
You didn't use that language back then. But I'm glad you're using
I went to school.
But yes, that's exactly right.
And it's just an intuitive thing that we do in the 12
In fact, I haven't heard you
world.
talk about entering the frame until about today.
Well, she's right there, forming an attachment. And that's something that I kind of learned from them, and I had kind of a natural kind of ability with people from playing music. That's why I kind of played music. It's like this, I'm interested in people, I like hearing their stories, where they grew up, and what their lives were like, and I've been inquisitive about that, and that helps in coming into this field.
Yeah, let me say something on the heels of that, if you don't mind, which is that there's a lesson there that's perhaps deeper too, which is that in recovery, how many of you are actually in the helping professions and treating fields?
Yeah.
So a lot, yeah.
That was a lot.
You are the instrument. The totality of your being is the instrument. And Bob, I think as I look back, I hadn't thought about it till just now, but that his entire being was put into those experiences, and he knew what his role was, and his instrument, meaning his body and his self, were very effective instruments in that frame of being in the presence and close proximity of another suffering person. And you too, you have the same thing, whether you realize it or not. And we're each different. When we were a team back, when we had been in teams together, which have been many years, we had another physician, we had an RN, and each of us were very different, but had a similar capacity to enter the frame, as Bob says. And each of us brought a different quality. Then you need to find the right fit for that patient. Some of us were more effective than others with certain patients. How we responded to the patients told us a ton about the character structure of the patients. So it's a really important lesson here about the instrument of using your body and your character and your experience in treating a patient.
Yeah, it's something that isn't talked about a lot, but it's a very precarious line to kind of try to be an ally, seemingly a friend, or a confidant, but not be manipulated and taken advantage of by an addict. That's something that you have to have years of experience, and that's what MAP gave me, the ability to be there. Candy remembers, it was the greatest thing ever. First group I ran with Buddy, my all-time favorite, idolized him my whole life, musician, was in the group. And I couldn't get swayed by that, right? And it's weird. I couldn't get swayed by it, and I knew intuitively, like, this is about me too. Like, I can't just like give this guy a free pass, because he was being very stoic and full of shit, really. And so I just intuitively knew, like, I know I got your picture on my wall when I was a little kid, but you are full of shit, sir. It's true. He's a big guy too. You don't want to fuck with him. But so, any questions about the clinical aspect? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yes, my name is Sam.
Hey, Sam.
Thank you guys for your contribution. I really enjoyed your documentary. It has a powerful message. I'm interested in carrying a message not only just in the rooms but outside. I'm interested in reaching the urban communities.
Yeah.
I write and record recovery-related music, conscious type music. My friend Leonard was generous enough to feature one of my videos in his Recovery Film Festival. So I would like to get some tips on, if you have any advice as to how I can maybe go about reaching out and carrying a message through music.
when the urban environment really needs it a lot. You got a lot of celebration of drugs and violence and stuff like that. And I just, what's interesting in the music community, this might bore a lot of people, but a lot of people who are sober don't want their audience to know they're sober. I have a real pet peeve about that, like that it makes you less cool or something. And Buddy Arnold used to always tell me, we gotta make it so it's as hip to be fucking sober as it is to be loaded. I used to sit there in my office because we would just talk till like 9 o'clock at night, and I would just be like, that is never gonna happen, buddy. But that's your dilemma too. It's like, how do you kind of influence the culture that you're trying to influence? And I think the individual does it, and then you try to kind of grow a community within it that kind of helps. And that's what Buddy did. He really went to some people that he knew were sober and said, we need to do this, you need to give me money. And, you know, it's what he did. Yeah, in the back.
My name is Sean Morrissey. I was listening to when you were describing your dissatisfaction with, I don't know if it was the recovery community or the recovery model, and decided that you wanted to kind of do your own thing. And I'm wondering if you can describe kind of what that is that you do now.
Well, everything that's old is new again. And things, I just have this feeling that as harm reduction becomes so much a part of the industry, if you stay abstinence-based, you're going to be the new thing. You know what I mean? So that's, I'm trying to weather the storm of it, you know. It's not the most popular thing anymore. And I certainly don't, I'm not judgmental about Suboxone. I don't think it's bad to be on. I don't try to shame anybody. I just think that it's a very slippery slope there. It's a very slippery slope. And so, you know, when used in the proper context, I tried to get him like 7 years ago. I said, I got the greatest idea. So I used Suboxone for only 2 days. And then we go to the regular pheno quantity thing, right? Remember, I tried to get you, and he didn't want Suboxone in his unit at all. And that's why we don't work anymore.
That's true.
But that used in its proper context is a great drug. It's a kind of a pain-free detox and whatever. The problem is how long you stay on it when maintenance is off, or that seems to be the thing I have a real problem with. And so I'm just staying true to this kind of absence-based model that Gloria and Buddy taught me, that Kraft taught me, this kind of way that it always was, and it's slowly kind of, vanishing.
Just the second part of that is that, I'm sober through abstinence-based 12 steps, and really passionate about that, and at the same time really passionate about harm reduction strategies. And I would put harm reduction as kind of the umbrella under which all of the recovery models fall, as opposed to it being a recovery model in and of itself. The second part of my question was this kind of emerging research about trauma and its relation to addiction and even mental illness.
Yeah.
I go on all day about that. What would you like? What would you like? I mean, it's we don't.
Don't fully know. Really.
No. We do, but we know a lot. But if you want to read about it, refer to the work of Alan Shore, Schore, or Peter Fonagy, and you'll see language and brain systems that are very familiar in the addiction field. It's just everyone's looking at the elephant, saying it has a big foot and has a long. No one's sort of integrated it all together yet. Well, you can easily if you just read the material, because it comes automatically together. It's just not part of the common lexicon yet. We have not treated a patient without trauma in 15 years. I mean, trauma is the inciting. If someone has bad enough addiction, they get to us, they have trauma, for sure.
And personality disorder.
Well, the bottom line is, the simplest way to state it is trauma interferes with the capacity to build the emotional regulation system. Addicts have emotions that are too prolonged, too intense, and too negative. They're dysregulated. They find a solution in a drug, and then they trigger a second problem. And that they're genetically set up for that second problem. Now they have trauma, dysregulation, and addiction. And that's mostly what we're dealing with these days.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm an addict.
Hey, Scott.
7 days clean today.
Yeah, baby.
This is my 5th time through treatment, 2nd time through Providence, and I was watching on the film about giving pheno and, Suboxone and whatnot, but I was taking up to 240 of the benzos a month, 2 milligrams Ativan. And for me, it was like I had to go and have a safe detox because I have seized out before through acute withdrawal. My question is, though, for you guys is, what would you recommend for somebody like me as far as a sober living? How long would you recommend staying? At least a year?
He always says that.
Yeah.
I always say 6 months because I'm codependent.
Get through the first 6 months. Particularly the benzo, that first year is rough.
Yeah.
And you look back that year and go, wow, I was not right all year. The biology is messed up for you.
Yeah, 5 weeks of really intense.
It's bad.
And
Post-acute
that's-
withdrawal, 4 months at least.
And it's just starting to get a little more.
And then it can be treated.
Well, the good news is, though, and I learned this from you, that whether you were taking as prescribed or abusing, about the same.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
For a 6-year
So
period,
everybody
it
gets
went up,
caught.
just kept going.
Everybody gets caught up on how much they're taking. Listen, you're going to be as sick as the person who's taking as prescribed.
Right.
You know.
That's yeah.
That's one of the things. Another thing I like to point out is, if you know, at a certain point when I lived with John, we had the junkie's dream. We had unlimited amounts of money. Unlimited. Could buy as much drugs as we wanted. Nothing to do all day. Just live in this house in the Hollywood Hills. Right? So it's a lot of junkies' dreams, and they think, oh, if I could just have that, everything would be all right. Well, we don't have any teeth. We don't have any veins. We don't have any houses.
You burned your house down.
Everything, we burned the house down by accident or on purpose, it's hard to say. And, you know, and even at that level, the two of us together were spending like $500 a day, probably. Because you're buying large amounts of drugs, it's way cheaper or whatever. So every time a client comes into me and says, you know, I was taking $1,000 a day, I'm like, that's impossible. I know for a fact that's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible for two people to do that. But, you know, and that's that experience that you have as an addict, that's what I'm talking about in the movie, becomes an asset as a clinician. Because you can know right away, well, why would you be exaggerating? You want to be more, you wanted me to believe that you took more drugs than you did, or you're exaggerating how much you spent, or
More detox meds.
Yeah, more detox meds, right? So this is all this thing, and it's this. I want to clarify this about something. The arguments I was getting in at Lost and Seen weren't about Suboxone or no Suboxone. I actually said in order to compete, we have to start including this, and he was the one that was no way. But my problem was, what doctors choose what kids are going to go on maintenance.
There you go.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
You know, and that was an argument I get in with almost every doctor over there. And then I'd get written up, and then I'd have to go to the front, and then I'd have to deal with it, then I'd have to apologize.
But it was the same thing with the benzos, too.
Yeah.
And opioids.
And so it's, you know, I'm realistic about it. I just see, you know, the way the drug was marketed was for a lot of the clientele you're dealing with, actually. It was for me, 35 years old, been to 24 treatments, hopeless, gonna die of drug addiction. Put that guy on Suboxone. 19-year-old children who've been using drugs for 6 or 8 months, I don't know about that. Right?
And by the way, our patient there was starting to shoot Suboxone.
Yeah, we had Lisa.
Okay, so like I went to the doctor, I was on Suboxone, tapered down, refused to take me off of it because of my history.
Right.
Down to 3 milligrams, would not take me off of it. Went back on heroin, got off the heroin. You know, I mean, that's what I had to do.
Yeah. I was there every step of the way, too.
I know, anyway, and then, and then, like, when I was trying to kick and just trying to, like, 3 days off, 2 days on, 4 days off. Oh, yeah, well, you were there for that. And then, like, went to try to get some detox meds, just to get, like, okay. This other doctor tried to put me back on Suboxone because it's 12-step approved.
Yeah.
You know, and like
breaking my heart.
everyone's trying to push it. I know people who are like, once an addict, always an addict, Suboxone for life. I can never get off opiates. And I was there with someone who had 16 years off opiates, and we just ended up in an argument with the doctor. But like, what do you
You've
do?
been caught in the middle of the last 5-6 years of it. It's a very emotional issue. Actually, the drug is designed for people like you and me, Lisa. It is. That's how it was marketed.
But I'm clean and sober today. And
I know you are. Hell yeah, you are.
Bob, your story is so compelling and amazing, and my personal story with it is this. We met 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you learned that I was a lawyer the first day. You said, hey, you want to hear something? And I looked at you, and we had never met before, and you go, yeah, back in the day, I got arrested for threatening to kill a president. And for shits and giggles, I was registered a communist. And I'm like, this is the first day I met you. And so they kept me in custody for a while. I love that I saw the movie, and I saw that in fact you got arrested, and everybody reported on it. So it's incredible.
And you found the footage of me saying it.
I can't believe it. But this movie, it is incredible, and everybody should see it. Really.
Let me tell you how I ended up being involved with PRC. It was Mike and his dad, Lee, one of the greatest guys I've ever known that worked in this field. They walked into my office at Matt, and they were waiting to see Buddy. And for some reason, Dr. Bloom started talking to me about addiction, and he goes, well, I've never taken these narcotics or anything, but you gotta look at the way the addicts describe the experience. They talk about, it's like you're in your mother's womb. It's like everything makes sense.